Good morning, students. How you guys doing? My name is Mr. Falade. I want to welcome you all to this online class. All right. We're going to continue from week 7 video. This is for week 8. And week 7, we talked about conflict resolution, management, and peace education, where we actually discussed what conflict is and how to resolve conflicts, causes of conflicts, and what other mechanisms that we can use in promoting peace. And we also discussed the peace education and show some sign of peace in the community, whereby everyone was encouraged to always show signs of peace every now and then. Now we're moving ahead from week 7. Now this one is particularly for week 8 and week 9, and the topic is local government. The topic of government spread across week 8 and week 9. So before we go into details, let's quickly look at our behavioral objective. That is what we are expected to learn. At the end of the lesson, the student should be able to 1. Discuss the historical background of local government in Nigeria. 2. Explain the structure of local government reform. 3. Highlight the functions of local government. 4. Highlight the sources of finance for local government. And number 5, highlight the problems of local government. And number 6, be able to highlight the roles of traditional rulers in local government. Now, to the first uh, subtopic there, which happened to be historical background of local government. The evolution of local government system in Nigeria could be traceable to the Great Britain municipality form of local government. This system was introduced in Lagos, Port Harcourt, and Enugu, etc. Sorry, I said Lagos, Port Harcourt, Enugu, etc. Because they had similar responsibilities with that that is obtainable in Britain. This is a multiple system of local governments that operated before the 1976 local government reforms. After the Second World War, local government councils gradually replaced indirect rule system of native authority of the emirs, and lawmaking became relatively easy, even when most of the native authority were so large. In southern Nigeria, it was different from the native authorities. The native authority system respected and guaranteed the authority of the emirship system, which existing in the northern region. It was a multiple system in the southern part of the country. There were in place devotional council, all purpose district council, local council, city council, etc. Their power were defined and made specific by the powers that created them. For example, the law of instructions which established a local council always set out a list of functions which local government bodies could perform. The law then authorized the Minister of Local Government to allocate these powers and functions to the different levels or tiers of local government. In southern Nigeria, the structure of local government council showed, eastern region with two-tier system of local government, Midwest and Western region with three-tier system, and Lagos has one-tier system. And moving on to the local government reform. Okay, now the local government reform, the 1976 of 1976 reform of local government changed the multi-purpose system of local government council to a single tier, all-purpose local government. And as a result of that, the local governments were made the third tier of government after the central and state government. That is, haven't look at how it was managed in the, if you look at the check the history very well, mentioned that some particular states, has 2 tiers of local government. Some has three, and while Lagos has one. But in 1906, there was a great reform whereby it was made multi-purpose system, whereby all the 36 states in Nigeria adopt local government as the third tier of government. That is, we will now have central government, state government, and also local government. So before 1976, there was nothing like there was not like three tier of government. So it's either one tier of government, two tier of government, and some as at the local level, two tier of government, local government, and some has three tier of local government. But as at 1976 reform, which it was looking to, local government was later accepted to be the third tier of government. Now, what are the functions of local government? The following are the functions of local government. Number one, establishment and maintenance of cemeteries and homes for the district. That is, they are the one in charge, the cemeteries, home of district, and that is the leper colony and all that. So it's local government that establish and maintain such houses, such places, in order to be more focused on them. But another function is the collection of rates. What are the rates? That is radio, collection of radio rates, television licensing, and many others. So any rates, any local rates, that is taxes and all that, are being collected from all these radio stations, television licensing, and all that. Another function is licensing of bicycle, trucks, canoes, wheelbarrow, and carts. That's why you see that in every car, in every bus, in every truck, in every bicycle or tricycle, the plate number, you always have the local government last three digits at the end of the number. So because as it is, you collect it from the local government. That's one of the sources of fund for the local government. Number four, another function is the establishment and maintenance and regulation markets. That is, they are the one that regularize the markets, the motor parks, and public conveniences. It is one of their jurisdiction, is in their jurisdiction to establish and maintain, also regularize markets, motor parks, public conveniences, and other. Also, all those tickets that they give them, the market women, the market men, those in the market selling things, those in the motor park, for buses, for cars, from transmitting from one location to another, or those that are going interstate. The tickets they are being given to them by the local government. The money is going to the local government account. So if you have public confidence, that means like toilets and all that, all the money that they collected from those toilets or public conveniences are surely going to the local government of such environment. Number five, construction and maintenance of roads, streets, drains, and other public highways, parks, open spaces, such as public facilities, as may be prescribed from time to time by the House of Assembly of a state. So there are some certain streets that we will know as the local government street. There are some roads that belong to the local government. So patching of roads, constructing those roads that belong to the local government is being done and maintained, or should I say construct and maintained by the local government. If we have areas whereby there is drainage also, that is the gutters and all that, is also that belong that to the local government road, because we have federal road, we have state roads, and we have local government roads. So all these construction of all these are in the one of some of the functions of the local government. Also parks, open space, maintaining open space, parks, public facility, and all this has been prescribed by the House of Assembly, are all to be maintained by the local government of such area. Number six is registration. Local governments are involved in the registration of births, deaths, marriage in their areas of authority. That is, anybody that just gives birth the way you can get your birth certificate is at your local government. Maybe somebody just died, you need to, they used to give them death certificate, and registration of death is being done by the local government. And likewise marriage, that is why you see that there's always, when you want to do traditional customary um marriage, that is popularly called registry, is actually being done at the local government or the customary courts that belongs to a local authority, that is the local government. So now one is assessment of private owned houses, the determinant of the purpose for levying such rates. That is normally supposed to be the local government that should decide, on the tenement rate that should be given um, to people, the tenants. And sometimes some local government do have some, private owned houses, and the money they call the rent which they collect from such tenants is going to the local government account. Number seven, control and regulation of, that is one of their function is that they control and regulate outdoor advertisement and holdings, movement and keeping of pets of all description, shops and kiosks, restaurants and other places for sales of food to the public, and laundries. That is all the small small shops that you see around. The local governments are the one that collects money from them. I mean, there's always a particular tax which they pay. Is being paid to the local government account. There's also what we call outdoor advertisement. That means when you have that placard, there's this board that every shop always has. So if you want to display something like that, you have to pay a particular amount for such, because it's called an outdoor advertisement. So you have to pay. And for shops and kiosks, you also pay for that, and the money is going to local government, restaurants, and other places for sales of food, um, food to the public, and also laundries. So that is laundry houses, laundry shops. They also pay taxes to the local government. Another function is that they also participate in the provision and maintenance of primary school. It is part of the, if you check your government textbook, um, it is actually part of their function according to the presidential system of government. So it's there for them. They also develop, they participate in development of agriculture and natural resources. Why? Because they are the grassroots government, and they are the one that knows where there is space with where the lands that are good for agriculture. So agricultural development is one of their functions. They also participate in the provisions and maintenance of health services. That's why at every local government you have what referred to as health centers. All those health centers are maintained by the local government. Also, the primary school education is being maintained by local government. Another function is the naming of streets. They are involved in naming of streets, roads, and to number houses. If you check your house, I know there's a particular number in your house. That particular number is being given by the local government. Your street name is being approved, though it might be somebody in your street that owns the street, but it's actually somebody who made the process, and his approval is always being taken from the local government. And before it can be approved, some amount of money will be paid in order to own such street. In some areas like that, there's no ownership, there is no private ownership of streets. The street is being named by the local government. Now we leave the functions of local government, now go to the sources of finance for local government. Sources of finance for government. The first one is the National Assembly. As the National Assembly make provision for statutory allocation of public revenue for local government councils. That is, there's always an allocation that comes from the federal National Assembly to the state, and from the state they pass it to the local government in order to do some projects which they might have in their hands. Then House of Assembly of the state, House of Assembly make provision for statutory allocation of revenue to local government council. You know that as the federal government is having its budget, the state are also having their own budget. So the state while preparing their budget, they put in consideration the local government also. So there is an allotted revenue being given to the local government council for development of their grassroots. Number three, grants. Another source of finance is the special grants they receive from both the central government and the state government. So, if you don't know before now, know that local government do get or collect grants from the central government, that is federal government and the state government. And in most cases, these grants are for specific project. That is when they have the bigger project that their state revenue cannot even carry it, their internally generated revenue cannot also carry the project. So they get grants from federal government in order to tackle or be able to carry out big projects. Number four, collection of rates. Revenues are equally generated through collection of rates on radio, rates on television, licensing, like collection of licensing. They make money from that, from market shops and stores. So all this set of groups of people that owns all this radio station, television, I want to collect license, market shops, stores, and all that. That's how they make money internally. And another one sources is that commercial ventures. Some local governments are involved in commercial ventures like transportation. That is, they might have buses or cars or bicycle bikes, which people ride for them, and from there they make money from that also. And another source of finance for local government is that of payment of fine. Fines are paid by those that have disobeyed the rules and regulation, and it form a part of local government revenue. That is, those that go against the rules and regulation of local government, that is the bylaw of local government, the fines which they pay, they are still sum up to be one of the sources of finance to the local government. Now, moving on from there to the problems of local government. Problems of local government. Number one, shortage of trained personnel. I know most of you must have looked at with all this numerous number of sources of funds. The local government should be more developed, but it look not developed. Acute shortage of trained experienced personnel affects the effective efficiency of government. And as a result of that, most time, there are a lot of jobs to be done at this local government, but they have lesser number of staffs. So as a result of this shortage of trained personnel, it reduces the efficiency of the local government, you know, at the grassroots. Number two is acute shortage of funds. Most local government do not have enough funds to operate. Now, in the last slide, I talked about the sources of finance of local government. It's not all the local governments that have, that their community member pays all this. They get funds or finance from all these ventures or sources that I mentioned earlier. Some it might just be the only allocation that come from the federal government and the one that come from the local government. There is nothing that comes from internally generated revenue. Or some maybe only naming of streets, collection of plate number and all that. That's only birth certificate. That's the only source of revenue which they have. So as a result of that, they won't be able to embark on some particular some capital project which they ought to do. Another problem of local government is that political interference. Political leaders, have at different, ties interfered with the activities of local government. That is due to their, political power. And as a result of that, this might not, you know, enhance the effectiveness of such local government because they interfere into their program, they interfere, and they don't have a free hands of operation. Number four is bribery and corruption. Some local government are actually seeing, a lot of funds there, but some officials demand and even take bribe before performing their normal functions. As a result of that, this might reduce the functionability of such local government because you see every time you want bribe for everything because corruption is everywhere in this country right now. So this reduce the functionability of such local government. Number five now, diversion of public funds. Some political officials involved in revenue collection embezzle out of the fund for their own selfish ends. You see, you can imagine if we can do the research to know how much each local government is collecting from the federal government every month, and likewise how much each local government is collecting every month from the state. And just imagine every time they say there's no money in the course of the local government, not talking about other internally generated revenue from the local government, the community members, and as all the officials do, or chairman or those top politicians do, is to embezzle this money, and as a result of this slow down the development of such local government. Number six, granting of undue favor. Some local government officials, they make use of their position in order to give undue favor to their friends and you know family, due to one thing or the other. They just give undue favor to their friend. For example, in the area of awarding contract, even if the person is not the best person in position to be awarded that contract, they just award the contract to their friends because they are just really friends. They have one favor for each other. And instead of that, because they are not the best person to take the contract, they won't perform very well, and as a result of this, it can cause the downfall, or it can make the local government not to develop as it ought to. Then the last one there on the problems of local government is tribalism, nepotism, and favoritism. We all know that favoritism, nepotism, and tribalism is one of the issues we are battling with in this country today. The government is now the government of party party, the government of I'm Yoruba, you're not Yoruba, I can't give you a job. You're an Hausa, and I'm Igbo, I only give contract to Igbo people. And all these cases are what we are facing today. There are many, these are mainly observed in the areas of appointment, transfers, discipline, and promotion of staff, which is not supposed to be. A lot of things are ought to be based on merit and not based on tribalism, nepotism, and favorism. So all these are problems facing local government that is making them not to be as developed as how they should be. Now, what are the features of the 1976 local government reform in Nigeria? The first one was uniform system of local government. This uniform system was brought in place in 1976, whereby there was the introduction of a uniform system of local government throughout the country. It was at 1976 local government reform that brought about having a uniform system that makes us having local government to be the third tier of government. So before 1976, local government was never the third tier of government. We only had two tiers of government, which happened to be federal government and state government. But as a result of 1976 local government reform, local government was generally acceptable to be the third tier of government. And number two, federal government involvement. The federal government became directly involved in the local government administration. They have to, for the effectiveness, they have to be involved. That is also what brought about the government, that is the federal government having a certain allocation that is being given to them every month in order to carry out some certain project of the grassroots. Number three, service board and commission. There was the introduction of local government service board commission in all the states in order to to check the functionality of each local government. Number four, statutory functions. The local governments were given specific statutory function to perform. That is, that is one of the one I've mentioned in the other slide by saying that they maintain primary school education, primary health care, and many other functions which was put in their care. Another one was it was being seen as a single tier, that is, all the local government were made all purpose single tier local government. In the history I was saying that some then Port Harcourt, Enugu, and some other states like that were having two tiers of local government, three tiers of local government. In that state, they have House of Chiefs, House of Obas, and like that. But it was later being put together to be one purpose, single local government. Okay, and another feature of the next local government reform in Nigeria happened to be appointment, whereby there was the appointment of full-time chairman and supervisory councillor. That is, the chairman, which is being seen as the executive council member, and also the supervisory councillor is being also seen as the executive, which is to is being put in place to also supervise some certain project being done in such local area. Now, moving on from there to the last subtopic there, which happened to be the roles or functions of traditional rulers in government. The roles or functions of traditional rulers in government. The first one happened to be ministerial appointment. Some of them were appointed as ministers, though without portfolio, that is, no specific functions to perform than their traditional role. So, then that was when that is 1976 local government reform. So most of local government roles which the chairman are performing right now were previously performed by the traditional rulers. But as a result of making it to be a single tier of government, it was so the local government the traditional rulers were now later being given a ministerial appointment in order to perform only their traditional role. Second one there is appointed as governor. For example, the late Sir Adesoji Aderemi, the Oni of Ife, was made the regional governor of the Western region in 1960. Also legislation, they were also appointed into the second chamber in the regional law, in the regional lawmaking body, that is the House of Chiefs. They worked with the first chamber, which happened to be the House of Assembly, legislation, and as a result of that, law were made by the both houses. So they were also part of the houses that make law. Then another role was or function happened to be president of customary courts. Some of these traditional rulers were appointed as president of customary courts, whereby they involved themselves in the administration of cases in these courts. And another one is the tyranny of the first chamber. House of Chiefs acted as a check to any tyrannical act of the upper chamber. That is to check, like check and balance, to actually know if the upper chamber are actually doing the right thing, or they have something that is they are doing things that they are not supposed to do. Another function is representation of the grassroots, which is actually the purpose, major function, whereby they were seen as the representatives of the people at the grassroots. Whatever they say, they take. Whenever they tell, please come and do so in our environment, the roads are not good, there's no light, there's no disease. So they listen to them because they see them as representative of the people at such community, which is the grassroots. And they also act as a link. They were seen as a link between the people and the government, because the traditional rulers knows the government and the government recognize them, and the people recognize the traditional rulers. So when the people go to the traditional rulers to lodge some complaints, the traditional rulers will beckon on the government that for help. And instead of that, such help will be received immediately. So that is how they serve as a link. So all these are all about local government in Nigeria. I hope by now you must have learned a lot. You've learned one or two things about local government reform of 1976 and many other subtopic under that. So till I see you again. Um, for now, so but please make sure you go through the video, make sure you go through every line, make sure you actually have a better understanding. Um, watch over and over again for a better understanding. Also, by going online to the site for the notes, copy your notes, and be a good student. So, you know, since there's no other thing, bye for now.